Talk to any of my friends and family and they will tell you that it is a very rare moment that I am left speechless. But Apple's Wanderlust event this September has genuinely left me speechless, for both good and bad reasons. We got all new Apple Watches, we got all new iPhones, and it's all pretty exciting. So I've got my notes here, let's go ahead and talk everything new that happened today.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Let's start off with the bad. We got new Apple Watches. We got the Series 9 and we got the Ultra 2. They got a brand new chipset, which is the S9 chipset. And what it allows is a cool new feature, but that was about it. I was genuinely really disappointed by the Ultra. I expected so much more. There wasn't even a new colorway announced. I feel like they probably could have skipped this year and just gone straight for next year with the Ultra 2, but we have it, it's got a new chip and it's got a fun new feature. What it can do is gesture control. So for example, if you wake up in the morning and your alarm's going off in your watch, you can simply double tap your index finger and your thumb together and it will silence the alarm. Or you could use it to take a photo with your iPhone. Or you could do it for basically anything. It's the same with the Ultra as well. If you wanted to set a new waypoint while you're hiking, just double tap and it will do it. It's a really cool feature, but I really don't think it's worth the upgrade if you already have an Ultra, or if you have something like me, which is the, I think, Series 7 I've got here. Yeah, it really didn't feel like a massive upgrade. Prices have stayed pretty much the same. We're looking at around $399 for the standard Series 9, but it did come with some really nice looking Nike bands. They were genuinely really cool colorways and I like what they've done with them. I just wish they'd done a bit more. Siri can now access your health data, which is pretty useful, I guess. So you could ask it things like how much sleep did I get last night, and you could tell it to track your weight. That day you've weighed yourself and you are now 62 kilos. You could say that to Siri and it would add it all to your health data. That's not something that's specific to the Series 9 or to the Ultra. That's across all Apple Watches. It's just a little bit faster on these new devices because of that S9 chip and the machine learning that's going on in the background. Throughout this event, the word carbon neutral and all of Apple's environmental impacts really came into play, and it was a big talking point for basically everything they did. It was a pretty exciting thing to learn that the Series 9, as well as the SEs, and I think some of the Ultras as well, were all carbon neutral in one way or another. That's a really exciting goal, particularly as they were aiming to do this by 2030. We're 2023 now, and their watch range is already 100% carbon neutral in quite a few of its setups. They did this in a few interesting ways, for example removing leather. You can no longer get leather bands, they have a new design that they have called, I've got it written down here, it was some stupid name, fine woven. It's basically a fake leather that they've done, made of a lot of recycled materials to try and keep all of that carbon emission to a minimum. There was a super cringy advert, which I'll play a little bit of here, which was them talking all about their environmental impacts. They knew that we would stick around to watch this iPhone reveal, so they stuck all of the kind of boring bits in the middle here. It was them trying too hard to appeal to a younger audience. It just fell flat for me, honestly. Okay, so let's get on to the exciting stuff. We'll start off with the iPhone 15, which I think is one of the biggest upgrades in the base model that we've had since the iPhone X. Honestly, this thing is pretty exciting. So prices are pretty much the same, starting at $799 for the standard model and $899 for that Plus model. Screen sizes are again pretty much the same, a 6.1 and a 6.7 inch respectively. But we do have that dynamic island now, so they've got rid of the notch. All of the iPhones now have the dynamic island in the 15 series, which is pretty exciting, I guess. I don't really see an advantage to the dynamic island over the notch. It's not a reason to upgrade, but everything else that this iPhone does is absolutely a reason to upgrade. This thing is beautiful. They've done quite a few new colours with these greens, yellows, and even a pink that I'm actually kind of partial to myself. Not only that, but they've also done a really nice thing. You'll notice with the 13s and 14s, they have quite sharp edges. They've chamfered these edges, so you've kind of got somewhere between the iPhone 12 and iPhone 13 with its chamfered edges but still that candy bar style. It looks super comfortable in the hand. It probably also won't jab you like this one does. There is a brand new camera system on the 15 which is really exciting. It's a 48 megapixel main shooter as well as that secondary shooter as well, which is going to allow for a few cool things. It's basically double the resolution, and what that means is it has even better low light performance than before. We've got a 2x telephoto lens here as well, and all of the nice AI stuff which is happening in the background. You can take pictures and it will automatically allow you to change them into portrait photos after the fact and after you've taken them. It's already capturing all of that depth data when you're taking that standard photo, and this is going to happen for people as well as pets like your cats and dogs. In terms of connectivity, we've got the emergency satellite stuff that came to the Pro models last year. That is across the board now. So you are able to, if you're in a place with no reception, contact first responders, so 999, 911, but also this is going to work for roadside assistance. It wasn't made particularly clear whether this was just going to be a US thing or whether this was going to be around the world. I presume it is around the world, but in the presentation they talked about the AAA. Ultra wideband has had an upgrade here too, which allows you to use the Find My network to find your friends with a astonishing amount of precision. I think this is just going to ruin hide and seek as a game, isn't it? Everyone's just going to be walking around with their iPhones trying to find their buddies, but it's a really cool feature and I look forward to giving it a try. And of course, we all knew it was happening, mainly because of the European lawsuit that they lost. This is a USB-C phone now, which means, hooray, I only need to carry one cable around for my laptop, my iPad and my iPhone if I were to go with this model. Spoiler alert, I'm not going with the base 15. Anyway, it also has MagSafe now as well, so MagSafe is across all of the 15 models. This feels like one of the biggest upgrades we have ever had to the base model iPhones. These beautiful matte finish and colours, that brand new camera system, and all of these new features that were previously Pro features are now here. I can see this being the most compelling upgrade for anyone who is running anything under maybe an 11, I'd say, would probably super benefit from having a 15. And to be able to keep that price point the same is pretty extraordinary. Okay, so the 15 was cool, but now we are on to what I think is the showstopper here, and it's the stuff that genuinely left me speechless, and that is the 15 Pro and Pro Max. I don't know how they've done it, but this thing is the same price. It's $999 or $1199 based upon getting the Pro or Pro Max. It's got grade 5 titanium as the body now, and it's a brushed titanium which looks absolutely beautiful. They did mention that this is the same titanium they used for the Mars rovers. All I heard there is I can take my iPhone to Mars and it will be absolutely fine. I presume that isn't the case, but it's nice to see. What it means is it's going to be much lighter than the previous Pro models, and actually that's a good thing because I've got the 13 Pro here and it is not a light device. This thing is quite heavy to hold, particularly for longer periods of time. So a titanium body, I like it. It also comes in a few different colorways. I'm not really a fan of the colorways myself. I think I would have preferred some of the nicer colors that the 15 came in, but I get it's the titanium body, and this, spoiler alert again, is the model that I'm going to go for, and that's for the camera system that we'll talk about very, very shortly. We've got that same design language with the beveled edges that were on the 15. It's actually smaller as well. Somehow they've managed to keep these same screen sizes, 6.1 and 6.7 inches respectively, while cutting down on the actual bezels around the display. It's got a brand new chip, which is the A17 chip. It has a next generation GPU in it, and this is where things went a little bit crazy for me. They were showing off some of the gaming performance of this and showed off some absolutely mind-boggling demos, honestly. They were playing Resident Evil Village on this, they were playing The Division, they even announced that Assassin's Creed Mirage was going to have an iPhone port. It's got ray tracing, for God's sake. This is where mobile gaming is going, and I am totally here for it. It is incredibly, incredibly impressive stuff. This GPU is 30% faster, and it allows for just these absolutely mind-boggling graphics that I'm totally here for. What, interestingly though, I think is going to happen is these games, the Resident Evil Village, The Division, Assassin's Creed Mirage, I presume these are going to come to only the Pro models, or if they do come to the other iPhones, they will be very, very stripped down experiences. And I guess, interestingly, the base iPhone Pro and Pro Max is 128GB still. And I presume if these are the full console ports, they're going to be big games. So 128GB is simply not going to be enough anymore, and you're going to need to buy a bigger base model in order to actually make the most of that new GPU and all of these new fun games that are coming. Okay, so let's talk about the bit that genuinely left me speechless, and that was the camera array. They say there is an equivalent of 7 different cameras here. I'm going to focus on the Pro Max because that is the one that interests me, and it's the one that I'm going to be buying for one reason and one reason alone. And that is the 3x telephoto lens that comes with a 5x optical zoom and also a 120mm focal range at an f aperture of 2.8. That is insane. Honestly, these cameras have better specs than this DSLR that I'm shooting on right now. How they have managed to get it into a body that is this small and this thin, I will never know. But what it does mean is you're going to start to see more and more film companies and more indie companies using their iPhones as the basis for all of their filming. Of course, it is USB-C, so we can actually connect our external drives. And one thing that they mentioned was using ProRes 4K 60 FPS. You can write directly to an external drive without having to use up all of your internal space. That is really impressive stuff. We also get log and aces, so you can honestly use this thing as a professional cinema camera now, just because of these effectively 7 lenses that they managed to cram onto the back of this thing. It's a 48 megapixel sensor for that main one. It does have a quad pixel sensor. It will shoot in RAW and HEIF as well, if that's something that you're interested in for your photography. You're going to get super amazing low light performance, as well as all the advancements that we talked about with the base iPhone 15. Editor Rob here, because he forgot a very important point during this video, and that is the Pro and Pro Max has one feature to do with the Apple Reality Pro, which I was really impressed by, and that is the ability to use 2 of its cameras to be able to actually shoot content for the Reality Pro. This will be 3D depth content, proper Black Mirror style. But what it means is you're always going to have a camera in your pocket to be able to create and capture some of the most precious moments ready to be viewed inside of your Reality Pro headset. This is where Apple is going, and I'm really excited to see the future and where we're going to go with all of this. To enable us to get all of those nice things, they did have to redesign the camera. It's gone with a prism design as well, which helps with the zoom and helps with the quality of the cameras overall, and it has stabilization across all 3 axes. You are going to get the smoothest motion possible from the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Of course, as well, this was something that was leaked, and it was a little bit sad that it was leaked. We've lost a very dear friend of mine, and that is the mute switch. Rest in peace, mute switch. We now have the action button, and I get it. We can now redesign this button to do anything we want, including things like shortcuts, which I do like. I'm very partial to a shortcut or 2. It can also just be the mute switch. Just holding that button in for a few seconds will mute and unmute your phone. It's just nicer to have a physical switch that I can switch between. There we go. So there we have it, guys. This has been an absolutely insane event. That iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are just something else. It's just a real shame that the Apple Watch really didn't live up to expectations or what I expected. I guess we're going to get a new model next year because it's the 10th anniversary of the Apple Watch. We might get a new design, we might get some new things, but honestly, it really didn't feel like that much of an interesting upgrade this year. The iPhone 15, 15 Pro and Pro Max are just... yeah, I can totally see myself going with the Pro Max, and it's a model that I'm going to be buying very soon. My wife is also going to be upgrading to the iPhone 15, so maybe look out for some comparison videos on that. Anyway guys, that has been the Wanderlust Apple event this year. Why don't you let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the 15 and all of these different products that were announced. Is there something that really caught your eye and that you're excited about? While you're down there as well, get subscribed, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and of course, my name's been Robert, this has been Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.